First contact with consequences. The Galactic Covenant had ruled the stars for over 6,000 cycles. 12 species, each with their own strengths and specialties, had carved up vast regions of space between them. Peace was maintained not through goodwill or mutual respect, but through the overwhelming technological superiority of the HFY, who had subjugated the first challenger to their authority, so thoroughly that none had dared oppose them since. Sub-Commander Varric of the HFY stood on the command deck of the Covenant flagship Inevitable Dominance, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence as he reviewed the latest report. His crystalline exoskeleton shimmered under the ambient light, fracturing it into prismatic patterns across the polished deck. "Confirmation received, Honored One," said his aide, lowering all 4 arms in deference. "The exploration vessel Seeker of Opportunities has discovered a previously unknown system with signs of technological development. Initial scans show atmospheric manipulation, orbital constructs, and primitive interplanetary travel capabilities." Varric's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Curious that they remained undiscovered for so long. "What is their classification?" "They call themselves humans, Honored One. Bipedal carbon-based life forms with remarkable physiological adaptability, but unexceptional technological advancement. Their home system contains 8 planets, with the 3rd being their origin world, which they call Earth. Prepare the standard first contact protocols," Varric ordered. "Send the usual diplomatic contingent with Covenant membership terms. The system appears to be in Mektor space. They can manage the resource extraction operations once the humans are incorporated." The Mektor representative, a hulking amphibian with iridescent scales and bulbous eyes, gurgled in appreciation from his moisture chamber at the far end of the command deck. "Most generous, honored HFY. My people will ensure efficient extraction and appropriate distribution according to Covenant quotas." 3 orbital cycles later, the diplomatic contingent returned with unexpected news. "They refused the terms." Varric's voice carried a dangerous edge that made the lesser species on a command deck instinctively back away. "No species has refused Covenant incorporation since the Vrel, and they were made an example of thoroughly." "Yes, Honored One," the diplomatic officer confirmed, her carapace darkening in distress. "The humans claimed our terms were exploitative and one-sided. They requested amendments that would preserve their autonomy and limit resource extraction quotas to levels that are economically unfeasible." Varric's crystalline form hardened as his biology responded to his anger. "Their primitive technology barely allows them to reach their neighboring planets. They have no understanding of their place in the galactic order." He turned to his military commander. "Prepare a subjugation fleet. Standard configuration should be sufficient for a species at their development level." The Covenant moved with practiced efficiency. Within half a cycle, a fleet of 20 warships assembled at the edge of human space, prepared to demonstrate the consequences of defying the Covenant. Intelligence reports indicated the humans possessed perhaps a dozen orbital defense platforms and a small fleet of interplanetary vessels, nothing that could withstand even a single Covenant warship. Fleet Commander Zixnar, Varric's most accomplished military leader, led the formation toward the human homeworld. "All vessels report ready, Honored Varric. We will commence the demonstration bombardment upon arrival, targeting their largest military installations. Standard procedure suggests they will surrender after witnessing our technological superiority." "Excellent. Begin the approach," Varric ordered, settling into his command throne to observe the inevitable capitulation of yet another species to the Covenant's might. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the human system, sensors immediately scanning for defensive positions. What they found instead sent ripples of confusion through the command crew. "Honored One," the sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "We detect a single large vessel in orbit around the 3rd planet. Configuration unknown. It does not match any recorded human designs from our intelligence gathering." On the main display, a massive ship hung in orbit around Earth. It was sleek and predatory in design, with clean lines that hinted at advanced engineering principles. It was easily twice the size of the Covenant flagship and bristled with what appeared to be weapon emplacements. "Impossible," Zixnar declared. "Our intelligence confirmed the humans lack the industrial capacity to construct a vessel of this size. This must be some form of deception." "The vessel is hailing us, Honored One," the communications officer announced. "Project it," Varric commanded, his crystalline form now completely rigid with tension. A human female appeared on the screen. Her dark hair was pulled back from her face, and she wore a uniform of deep blue with silver insignia. Her expression was calm, almost pleasant, but her eyes held an unsettling intensity. "Covenant Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Blackwood of the United Earth ship Defiance. You are entering sovereign human space without authorization. State your intentions immediately." Varric gestured to Zixnar to respond, maintaining the proper hierarchy. "Human vessel, this is Fleet Commander Zixnar of the Galactic Covenant. Your species has rejected reasonable terms of incorporation. We are here to demonstrate the consequences of this decision and offer you one final opportunity to accept your proper place within the Covenant." The human captain's expression didn't change. "We reviewed your reasonable terms, Commander. They amount to colonization and exploitation. Humanity does not accept subordinate status to any entity. I suggest you reconsider your approach." Zixnar's mandibles clicked in amusement. A single vessel, regardless of size, cannot stand against a Covenant fleet. "Perhaps a demonstration will clarify your situation." He signaled to the tactical officer. "Target their orbital defense platforms. Show them our capabilities." 3 Covenant destroyers broke formation, advancing toward Earth. Their weapon systems powered up, targeting the primitive defense satellites that orbited the planet. What happened next would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The human vessel, the Defiance, seemed to shimmer momentarily. Then, without any visible weapon discharge, the 3 advancing Covenant destroyers simply came apart. Their hulls split along molecular seams that should not have existed, systems failing simultaneously as they fragmented into debris. Silence fell across the Covenant command deck. What weapon was that?" Zixnar finally managed to ask, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "Honored One," the sensor officer reported, "we detected no energy discharge, no projectiles. Our systems cannot identify the attack vector or method." The human captain's face reappeared on the screen. "Perhaps we should clarify your situation, Commander. Your intelligence on humanity is severely outdated or incomplete. We have been observing the Covenant for some time, studying your technologies and methods. What you're witnessing is merely one application of principles your scientists haven't yet discovered." Varric rose from his command throne, his crystalline body now pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of alarm. "You claim to have been watching us. Impossible. The Covenant surveys all space within 10,000 light-years of our territories. Yet here we are," Captain Blackwood replied simply. "You have 1 hour to remove your fleet from our system. After that, we will consider any remaining Covenant vessels to be hostile forces and respond accordingly." Zixnar turned to Varric, speaking quietly. "Honored One, this must be a bluff. One vessel can it. They just destroyed 3 warships without any discernible weapons technology." Varric cut him off. "Order probing attacks. Use different approach vectors. We must understand what we're facing." Over the next 20 minutes, the Covenant fleet executed a series of coordinated attacks, sending vessels in various formations to test the human ship's capabilities. Each attempt ended the same way: Covenant ships disintegrating without apparent cause, while the Defiance remained untouched. After losing 9 vessels, nearly half the fleet, Varric made an unprecedented decision. "Signal retreat," he ordered, his voice hollow with shock. "Return to Covenant space immediately." As the remaining ships prepared to withdraw, Captain Blackwood transmitted once more. "Commander, before you leave, understand this. Humanity has no interest in conquest or domination. We seek peaceful cooperation with other species based on mutual respect. When you're ready to discuss terms that reflect this principle, we will welcome the conversation. Until then, Earth space remains off-limits to the Covenant. The surviving Covenant vessels engaged their faster-than-light drives and fled, leaving behind the debris of their destroyed companions and the certainty that the galaxy had changed irrevocably with this encounter. On the Defiance, Captain Blackwood turned to her executive officer. Phase 1 complete. Commander Chen. Send word to the fleet. Operation Paradigm Shift is proceeding as planned. Behind her, through the viewport, Earth shone blue and serene, blissfully unaware that its protectors had just announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The balance of power shifts. News of the Covenant fleet's defeat spread through the allied species with the speed of quantum communication. What began as disbelief quickly transformed into existential panic among the Xerithal leadership. Impossible. Grand Overseer Xelteric's crystalline form pulsed with vivid colors of rage as fragments of his exoskeleton fractured and reformed. No emerging species could develop technology that surpasses our own. There must be another explanation. The High Council chamber of the Covenant capital world hummed with the nervous communications of the 11 subordinate species representatives. Some displayed obvious fear, others barely contained excitement at the Xerithal's unprecedented setback. Sub-Commander Varric stood at attention, enduring the Grand Overseer's fury. The sensor data is conclusive, Exalted One. 9 warships destroyed without detectable weapons fire. The human vessel showed capabilities beyond our understanding. Could they have been aided by an unknown species? Perhaps the ancients have returned, asked the Vox Terri representative, her gelatinous form rippling with calculation. Speculation without evidence serves no purpose, Varric responded. What we know is that this species claims to have been observing us, possibly for centuries. Their technological development has proceeded entirely outside our awareness. Xelteric's central eyes narrowed. We have maintained galactic supremacy for 6,000 cycles through technological superiority. This cannot stand. He turned to the military coordinator. Mobilize the Grand Armada. Every combat-capable vessel. We will exterminate this threat before it spreads. In the silence that followed, it was the usually subservient Nithran representative who spoke, his voice a soft whisper that nonetheless carried through the chamber. Perhaps we should consider diplomatic engagement first. The humans claim to seek peaceful cooperation. The Grand Overseer's bioluminescence flared dangerously. The foundation of the Covenant is our established hierarchy. Any species that refuses its proper place threatens the entire structure. His voice hardened. The decision is made. The humans will be eliminated. Any who disagree may formally register their objection after they commit their military resources to the cause. None dared to object further, though several representatives exchanged meaningful glances. For the first time, in thousands of cycles, fractures appeared in the Covenant's unified front. Captain Ilara Chen of the UES Defiance stood in the ship's observation deck, watching Earth grow smaller as they accelerated toward the outer system. At 42, she was younger than most captains of flagship vessels, but her tactical brilliance during the Mars Rebellion had marked her for rapid advancement. "You're brooding again," remarked her executive officer, Commander David Okafor, as he joined her at the viewport. Contemplating, she corrected with a slight smile. "There's a difference." Semantics. He handed her a data tablet. Intelligence just decrypted more Covenant communications. They're mobilizing something called the Grand Armada, apparently every warship they can scrape together. Ilara nodded, unsurprised. The Xerithal maintain control through the perception of invincibility. We've shattered that illusion. They have no choice but to respond with overwhelming force. Which is exactly what we wanted, David said, his Nigerian accent becoming more pronounced as it always did when he was excited. "The board is set. And the pieces are moving," she finished, her eyes on the stars beyond. "Is Ambassador Reynolds ready?" "As ready as anyone can be when preparing to potentially reshape galactic politics," David replied. His diplomatic team has prepared approaches for each species based on our centuries of observation. Ilara turned from the viewport. Then let's proceed to Phase 2. Signal the flotilla to begin their approach, and inform Reynolds that his moment in history has arrived. On the Covenant capital world, the Nithran representative, Philos, moved silently through the underground passages that predated even the Exurithal occupation. His slender avian form was wrapped in diplomatic robes that concealed both his identity and the communication device he carried. He entered a chamber where representatives from 5 other Covenant species waited: the Vox Terri, the Mektur, the Zentabi, the Luthari, and even a renegade Exurithal scientist named Felix. The Grand Armada launches within 2 cycles, Philos announced without preamble. Over 300 warships, including the And they still don't suspect? Asked Kravosh of the Zentabi, her insectoid mandibles clicking nervously. They are too consumed with the human threat to notice our preparations, Philos confirmed. The real question is, can we trust these humans? Will they honor their promises once the Exurithal are dethroned? The renegade Exurithal, Velex, stepped forward. Unlike his crystalline brethren, his exoskeleton was dull and asymmetric, the result of a genetic mutation that had marked him as defective in Exurithal society. I've analyzed their communications extensively, he said. Their cultural and philosophical structures differ fundamentally from the Exurithal. They organize around concepts of individual rights balanced with collective responsibility. Their promises appear genuine, yet they deceive the entire Covenant about their technological capabilities for centuries, objected Luriana of the Luthari, her bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with skepticism. Observation is not deception, countered Velex. Consider our position. If you had discovered a galactic civilization built on subjugation, would you announce your presence immediately or study it first? Silence fell as each considered the question. The Zentabi will support the humans, Kravosh eventually declared. The mineral extraction quotas have been slowly killing our homeworld for centuries. One by one, the others nodded their agreement. The alliance was formed. 3 days later, the Grand Armada of the Exurithal approached the human solar system. 300 warships, including 5-kilometer-long dreadnoughts, moved in perfect formation, the largest military force assembled in 2,000 cycles. Grand Admiral Zextar supervised from the command dreadnought Eternal Dominance. Preliminary scans show the human vessel has not moved from its position in high orbit. They appear to be waiting for us. Arrogance, commented Grand Overseer Zelteric. They believe their technology will save them against our full might. The Armada positioned itself at the edge of the solar system, weapons charged and ready. We are being hailed by the human vessel, reported the communications officer. Ignore it, ordered Zelteric. Launch the first wave. 100 destroyers should be sufficient to overwhelm whatever defenses they possess. As the first wave accelerated toward Earth, a new signal came through. This one bypassing the Covenant encryption protocols entirely and appearing on all command screens simultaneously. Covenant Armada. This is Ambassador Michael Reynolds of the United Earth Government. The human was older than Captain Blackwood, with gray hair and lines of experience on his face. I request an immediate cessation of hostilities and propose diplomatic negotiations. Zelteric's mandibles clicked in amusement. Begging already. Your single vessel impressed us, human, but you face the combined might of the Covenant now. I believe there's been a misunderstanding, Reynolds replied calmly. The defiance was never meant to be a show of military force, but rather a diplomatic gesture, demonstrating just enough capability to earn a seat at the table. A demonstration that cost us 9 warships, Zextar growled. An unfortunate necessity given the Covenant's historical response to new species, Reynolds acknowledged. However, if you check your long-range sensors, you may wish to reconsider your current course of action. Suspicious but cautious, Zextar ordered a full sensor sweep of the system. The results caused immediate consternation among the sensor officers. "Grand Admiral," one finally reported, "we're detecting multiple objects emerging from stealth configuration throughout the system. Hundreds of them." "Sir." The tactical display updated to show human vessels appearing like ghosts against the void. Some near Earth, others arrayed throughout the asteroid belt, still more emerging from hiding positions behind moons and planets. Some were massive, rivaling the Exirithal dreadnoughts, while others were smaller, sleeker craft clearly designed for speed. "This is impossible," Zelteric whispered, his crystalline form clouding with fear for the first time in his long life. "Our survey ships would have detected this level of infrastructure." As I mentioned, Reynolds continued, "Humanity has been observing the Covenant for centuries. We've had ample time to prepare. The Defiance represents only a fraction of our capabilities." Before the Xirthal leadership could respond, warning alarms blared across the flagship. The first wave of destroyers, now halfway to Earth, had stopped advancing. "What's happening?" demanded Zexstar. The destroyers report. They report their propulsion systems are being systematically disabled. The tactical officer stammered. "No weapons fire detected. Their systems are simply shutting down." Reynolds' expression remained diplomatic. "A demonstration of our control systems interface technology. Your vessels are unharmed, merely immobilized. We could have disabled their life support instead, or worse." As if to emphasize his point, one of the Exirithal dreadnoughts suddenly went dark, all systems failing simultaneously despite its supposedly impenetrable security protocols. Then came the final blow. "Grand Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple Covenant vessels. The Mektor ships are breaking formation. The Zentevi fleet as well. The Voxteri, the Litheri, they're all repositioning to stand with the humans." Zelteric's rage manifested as fracturing crystalline shards that fell from his form. "Traitors, this is rebellion." "This is evolution," corrected Reynolds. "The Covenant was built on technological intimidation. That advantage no longer exists. We offer a different model, alliance based on mutual respect and technological exchange." A new face appeared on the screen beside Reynolds, the Nithran representative Thelos. "For too long, the Exirthal have dictated the destiny of all species," Thelos declared. "No more. We choose alliance with humanity and a new galactic order." Over the next hour, nearly half the Grand Armada repositioned itself, breaking away from Xirthal command and aligning with the human fleet. It was a rebellion unprecedented in Covenant history. Faced with this betrayal and humanity's overwhelming technological advantage, Grand Overseer Zelteric made the first truly diplomatic decision of his long rule. "Stand down all weapons," he ordered, his voice hollow with defeat. "Open a channel to the human ambassador." 6 months later, Captain Ilara Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall on neutral territory, a space station built through the combined efforts of 7 species. The old Covenant was gone, replaced by the Galactic Alliance, where all member species held equal voting rights. "Quite a view," commented Ambassador Reynolds, joining her at the observation window that looked out over the gathered fleet. Ships of every member species floated in formation, a symbolic representation of their new unity. "Worth the centuries of preparation?" she asked. Reynolds considered this. The alternative was allowing the Exirthal to continue subjugating entire civilizations. "I'd say disrupting 6,000 cycles of exploitation was worth the wait." Chen nodded, watching as a Exirthal diplomatic vessel approached the station. Under their new leadership, progressives who had previously been marginalized, even the former oppressors, were finding their place in the alliance. "The real work is just beginning," she observed. "Dismantling entrenched power structures, establishing fair trade agreements, addressing historical injustices." "True," Reynolds agreed, "but for the first time, it will be done together, as equals." He gestured to where representatives of 12 species were gathering for the inaugural assembly session. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology. No, Chen said, as they turned to join the historic meeting. It was our stubborn insistence that there must be a better way. As they entered the assembly chamber, representatives from across the galaxy fell silent, acknowledging the species that had accomplished what none thought possible, bringing peace to the stars not through conquest, but through the power of an alternative vision. The age of the Covenant was over. The era of the Alliance had begun.